Guys, you might not realize it yet, but the UK is committing national suicide. The empire on which the sun never sets is now watching that sun set, and under the cover of Trump's private jet, NVIDIA and OpenAI are launching a digital colonization of the UK. This isn't an exaggeration, it's a reality. This week, Trump is heading to the UK to meet with Prime Minister Starmer at Chequers, where they'll sign a world-leading technology partnership ahead of the visit. The UK announced over £1.25 billion in US investments from companies like PayPal and Bank of America. US cloud computing firm CoreWeave is also investing in the UK, and Jensen Huang and OpenAI's Sam Altman are joining Trump's state visit. They've promised billions in funding for UK data center projects. But this isn't a diplomatic gift. It's a sweet trap disguised as investment. Tech giants from across the pond are ready to pack up and take the UK's entire AI infrastructure with them. Do you think this is just business? No, this is the first shot in the AI sovereignty war. And the UK is the first sovereign nation to fall. I'm Luna here to translate the macro into numbers in your account. Today's big question: what's really going on with the UK? What's the catch behind these investments? What are NVIDIA and OpenAI really up to? And most importantly, what's in it for retail investors? Smash that like button and hit the bell first, like then watch. Good habits lead to stock market gains. Let's start by looking at how bad things are in the UK right now. What exactly is going wrong? I'll break it down into 3 points. The first one is inflation. The UK economy has been stagnant for a decade, with inflation running high, from pandemic subsidies to energy bills. 14 years of conservative rule left a £22 billion fiscal black hole, planted an inflation time bomb. Now, prices, mortgages, and strikes are setting off-chain reactions. The pound plunged 70 points. And by the end of 2024, Italy's per capita GDP surpassed the UK's for the first time. Yeah, you heard that right. Italy is now richer than the UK. The second one is debt crisis. We have to talk about Liz Truss for this one. Ambitious and ready to reshape the UK, her first move as PM was massive tax cuts. The problem is that she didn't touch government spending at all. What's the market's reaction? Total panic. The yield on UK 10-year government bonds shot up from 3.48% to 4.5%. Bond prices fell, yields rose. The crisis was so fierce and fast that Truss was forced to resign after just 44 days. So when Starmer took over, he had to avoid her mistakes. He has a golden rule: recurring expenses must be covered by taxes. Note borrowing. Specifically, future spending can only be funded by tax revenue collected within the next 5 years at most. Long-term debt is strictly reserved for investment projects. Sounds totally reasonable, right? But promising is one thing, delivering is a whole other story, because let's be real. Cutting public spending in the UK is like trying to go on a Western Odyssey. It's incredibly tough. Take healthcare and pensions, for example. They eat up the biggest chunk of the budget, are protected by law, and are basically untouchable. There's almost no room for adjustment. Then there's the personal independence payment, extra financial support for people with special needs. The intention is great, but what's the problem? The definition of disability keeps getting broader, and with an aging population, spending just keeps ballooning. In just 14 years, expenses shot up 8-fold. If they could cut £5 billion from this budget, about 20% of the total, it'd make a difference. But what happened out of the 165 Labour MPs he leads? 124 rebelled. The compromise: cuts only apply to new applicants. Those already receiving benefits won't be affected. Now, the UK's 30-year government bond yield has surged to 5.48%. And debt worries keep growing. Official data shows the government borrowed £3.1 billion in July, the highest level for that month in 3 years. The third one is the declining living standards and public services. This is really a spin-off from the first two. The cost of living in big cities keeps rising. The public services are clearly worsening, such as overcrowded prisons, long waits for non-emergency care, and so on. Economic growth has been sluggish for a long time, and more Brits feel like the situation won't change. A report from the Institute for Government says if the new government sticks to previous spending plans, it'll face the tightest budget since 2015. The quality of local government and judicial services will keep declining in the coming years. So to sum it up, government debt is exploding, fiscal flexibility is being eaten up by interest payments, and mandatory spending on pensions, disability benefits, and energy subsidies is clinging to the Treasury like vampires. So what's Starmer going to do about this fiscal mess? What will come of it? And what roles do OpenAI and NVIDIA play in all this? Hold up, let's break it down one by one. After all that, it really comes down to two words: debt. So what can be done? First, raising taxes on the public is off the table. Starmer's approval ratings are already in the gutter, and tax hikes would kill party support. One idea being discussed is a wealth tax, especially targeting the super rich, taking money from the wealthy. But there's a catch. The rich are fleeing the UK faster than ever, and the upper middle class left behind are mostly baby boomers. They not only enjoy triple lock protected pensions, but also hold the key votes. Surprising? Not really. In this context, raising money gets complicated. Other options like new taxes on banks. Let's be real. The cost mostly gets passed on to customers, meaning ordinary Brits still pay, plus the banking sector is already weighed down by taxes. More could risk one of London's few globally leading industries. Then there's another way to handle debt. Inflate it away. If you promise to pay back £1,000 in 30 years, but inflation makes that money worth less than monopoly coins, investors still lose. The more out of control the government's budget gets, the more markets worry about inflation. The more they worry, the higher the interest rates they demand. And just like that, a vicious cycle kicks in. Debt increases, interest rates rise, the budget gets swallowed by interest payments. Debt keeps growing. It's an inescapable doom loop. So here's the summary. The UK government is spending big, but has fewer and fewer ways to increase revenue. Investors see right through this. They're worried the government will eventually inflate away the debt, so they're demanding higher returns. But high interest rates aren't just a UK problem. Japan's long-term government bond yields hit multi-decade highs. France's bond yields hit a 14-year high due to political turmoil. Germany's long-term borrowing costs reached a 14-year high. There's too much public debt and too few willing to buy, clearly against a backdrop of economic turmoil. Trump's tariff wars, geopolitical conflicts, and so on. Investor appetite has hit rock bottom. Many predicted the dollar would weaken and money would flow into euro or pound bonds, but that didn't happen. The market doesn't trust the US anymore, but it doesn't trust Europe either. The big winner, gold. Internally, they can't fix it. Externally, money isn't coming in, so the UK is like a leaking ship. The captains are arguing about whether to repair it, while pirates are already on deck. And just as the UK economy teeters, Jensen Huang and Sam Altman arrive. They're not here to sightsee. They're here to buy the country. OpenAI and NVIDIA have teamed up with UK data center firm Nscale, planning to invest billions to build an AI data center, the UK equipped with 45,000 GB200 superchips. What does that mean? A single GB200 has enough computing power to train the AI model of a mid-sized country, 45,000 of them. That's enough to turn the UK into Europe's AI computing powerhouse overnight. But here's the real question. Will the UK still have AI sovereignty? Jensen Huang warned a long time ago, countries without their own infrastructure will become digital colonies. Now he's leading the charge to make that warning a reality. The UK has no computing power of its own, no homegrown AI models. Not enough energy, even its power grid is ancient. The only things it can offer are policy green lights and cheap land. And that's exactly what OpenAI and NVIDIA need most. Prime Minister Starmer is still dreaming about an AI growth zone, fantasizing that simplified approvals and fast grid connections will attract investment and revive the economy. But what he doesn't realize is that he's welcoming isn't a savior, it's the East India Company of the AI era. And Jensen Huang is its pioneering missionary, shuttling between European capitals like Paris and London, selling national leaders like Macron and Starmer on this seductive idea of sovereign AI. What is sovereign AI? Simply put, it's building data centers within your own country, having your own computing power, not relying on foreign tech companies. Sounds tempting, right? Especially for European countries feeling left behind in the US-China tech race. But note, so-called sovereign AI still relies on NVIDIA chips at its core. Fancy packaging, same chips. France is partnering with Mistral, building a cloud platform with 18,000 NVIDIA Blackwell chips. Germany's manufacturing-focused industrial cloud will need 10,000 Blackwell chips. Jensen Huang confidently says Europe's computing power must increase tenfold in the next 2 years. This is business on an astronomical scale. Some estimates suggest that in this deglobalizing world, sovereign AI investments could bring NVIDIA $10 to $15 billion in annual revenue. For NVIDIA, this is a lifesaver. After all, export controls have already cost them $15 billion in China. But from Europe's perspective, is this really sovereignty? The hardware is NVIDIA's. The infrastructure is NVIDIA's. The chips need updating every few years. Again, NVIDIA's with an 80% market share. This monopoly only strengthens with each new generation of chips. We've seen this movie before. Europe isn't new to chasing tech independence. Remember sovereign cloud? France and Germany once had big ambitions to protect user data from offshore attacks by the U.S. and China. What happened? American tech firms still control about 70% of Europe's cloud market. Every attempt to reduce dependency, like Denmark moving away from Microsoft, is matched by moves in the opposite direction, like the German military signing a cloud deal with Google. Those European search tools touted as alternatives to Google, they still rely on Microsoft's Bing. When Bing had a global outage last year, they went down too. And now Microsoft isn't even shy about offering sovereign cloud services to Europe. Ironic, isn't it? So we're left with an investment paradox. If you don't invest, you fall behind. If you do invest, you become more dependent. If Europe doesn't invest in AI, it will definitely be left in the dust in the tech race. But if it does invest, it depends its reliance on American technology. Mistral might have raised 1 billion euros, but that's peanuts compared to OpenAI. According to Epic AI, Europe currently accounts for just 4.8% of global AI computing power. Let that sink in. You want sovereignty, but you don't even have the basic computing capacity. It's like a country wanting food security, but relying entirely on imported seeds, fertilizer, and machinery. The land might be yours, but the key technology isn't. Some compare AI sovereignty to a national airline. What matters is the flag and the operation. No two made the seats or the engines. It's an interesting analogy, but a dangerous one. As University of Amsterdam researcher Libby Sigari points out, underestimating the risks of dependency already come with real costs, just like what happened with Russian gas. The same could be true for AI. When key technologies are controlled by just a handful of companies, so-called sovereignty becomes little more than expensive, self-branded packaging. Traditional colonialism was about seizing land and plundering resources. Digital colonialism is more subtle. It achieves control through technological dependence. You can have your own data centers and fly your own flag. Boot, the critical chips, algorithms, and ecosystems are all in someone else's hands. It's like being given a fancy factory where the machines, the core tech, even maintenance services all come from the same supplier. On the surface, the factory is yours, but really, you're just holding the empty shell. Beneath Jensen Huang's leather jacket lies a much bigger play. NVIDIA isn't just selling chips, it's offering an all-in-one, locked-in AI ecosystem from GPUs to CUDA, from InfiniBand to liquid cooling systems. Once you use its hardware, you're tied to its software, its standards, and its upgrade cycles. And OpenAI isn't here for charity either. It's building compute nodes in Europe to bypass GDPR, capture the enterprise market, and reduce its reliance on Microsoft. The UK has become their springboard, and the thing about springboards is you use them, then you leave. When the UK's power grid is drained by these data centers, when the land is used up, when the policy benefits run dry, NVIDIA and OpenAI can simply pack up and leave off to Norway, the UAE, or the next sovereign AI target. What's left for the UK? A nasty hangover of high energy consumption, high debt, and high unemployment. But let's be real. This is an epic win for NVIDIA and OpenAI, and it's going to bring epic returns. Why? Because the age of the national contractor in AI is here. NVIDIA is no longer just a gaming company. Selling graphics cards, it's the Lockheed Martin of the AI era, it's a state supplier. It's not selling chips, it's selling AI sovereignty. Any country that wants to train its own large models, to buy its hardware, follow its standards, and join its ecosystem. NVIDIA's sovereign AI empire keeps expanding, and OpenAI is no longer that startup relying on Microsoft's blood transfusions. It's becoming an oil giant of the digital age. It's deploying computing nodes globally, controlling data flow, dominating model training. The UK is just its first European foothold. Next comes Germany, France, the whole EU. Guys, your mindset determines your gains. If you're still worried that NVIDIA has risen too much, that like someone in 2009 telling you not to buy Apple because there are already enough phones. NVIDIA's target isn't $210. It's the entire national AI budget of country after country. OpenAI's valuation isn't $80 billion. It's the entry tax to the global AI compute market. So the question isn't whether to invest in AI, it's how and in what. As AI tech continues to develop, companies across the related supply chain will benefit from soaring demand. I've summed up 4 key sectors set to ride this wave. Like and follow, don't miss out. First, semiconductors and AI chip manufacturing. NVIDIA is, of course, a direct beneficiary. As a core partner in this plan, NVIDIA's GB200 superchips will be the foundational computing units for AI data centers. NVIDIA already dominates the AI chip space, especially in deep learning, machine learning, and self-driving cars. Demand for high-performance computing is soaring. This UK AI data center build-out will further boost demand for its advanced GPUs and superchips, so NVIDIA is undoubtedly one of the biggest winners. Second, data center construction and operation. AI tech development is driving huge demand for large-scale computing, storage fueling rapid growth in the data center industry. Companies in this space will directly benefit from this demand. They design, build, and operate efficient data centers that host AI computing workloads. Third, cloud computing and AI service providers. Cloud computing is core infrastructure supporting AI development. Cloud service providers give AI companies the computing resources and platforms they need to train and deploy models. Giants like Microsoft and Amazon will keep benefiting from growing AI demand, expanding their cloud services business. Fourth, energy and sustainable infrastructure. After all, building and running large AI data centers takes a lot of energy. As AI computing demand grows, energy consumption will spike, so companies involved in sustainable energy supply could benefit. Of course, behind the hype, there are risks. Can the UK's aging power grid handle 500-megawatt data centers? Will local residents protest? Will environmental groups block projects? These are real execution risks. But these risks aren't stopping the AI wave. Tech giants are charging full speed ahead, and the UK government, trapped in a debt crisis, has little power to resist. In the future, the AI battlefield won't be in Silicon Valley, it'll be in the heart of sovereign nations. The UK is the first to fall, but it won't be the last. Germany, France, Japan, India, even China will become battlegrounds in this computing colonization, and you're not just a spectator, but a participant. Every investment decision you make now is a bet on the next decade of AI civilization. You can bet against the UK, but you can't bet against NVIDIA and OpenAI because they're not just companies. They're the national contractors of the AI era. Stop asking if AI can still rise. Ask yourself, are you ready to get on board? How are you positioning yourself? Share your thoughts in the comments. Let's chat. I'm Luna here to translate the macro into numbers in your account. Follow me to stay ahead of the AI colonization wave. See you tomorrow.